Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we're going to take a look at Venus's upcoming square with Uranus, which is coming through over the weekend. Venus is, of course, in the sign of Aquarius. We've been looking at Venus in Aquarius this week and last week because Venus has been dancing with Mars, both in the sign of Aquarius. Now both planets will be slowly moving through squares to Uranus and Taurus. So we're going to look at Venus's square, which is coming up over the weekend. We're going to look at this in terms of 5 key features that we ought to keep in mind that make this particular square unique. And then we're going to look at 5 archetypal themes that generally come up with Venus-Uranus dynamics overall. This is also a really great opportunity for us to start previewing the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which is happening in April, also in Taurus. In a sense, this square between Venus and Uranus is acting as a kind of microcosm or a preview of that transit, which is coming up in a couple of months. And this Venus is also the Venus that will be ruler of our first eclipse. We're entering into eclipse season again at the end of this month on March 25th. So there's a lot of reasons right now to be paying attention to Venus. If you listen to my channel, you know that we've been highlighting Venus's importance in the dignities of the moving aspects for a while. So that will continue today. We'll try to unpack this transit and tell you what to expect over the weekend. So anyway, before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. You could pirouette your way to the like button. You could kung fu chop your way to the like button. So whatever way you get there, we really do appreciate it when you like. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. You can find a transcript of any of my daily talks, as always, on the website, nightlightastrology.com. I want to take you over to the website right now to point out a couple of new features. If you go over to nightlightastrology.com, you can click on the shop page, and you can move over to our new digital shop, where we have all of our 2023 master classes that are 8 to 10 hours of content each, and you can bundle them together too and save a little bit if you want to get all 4 of them. We also have the Oracle Speaks, which is my book. You can join in on the release of my book chapter by chapter in audio and text form before it reaches its published form, which will probably be at least another year. So kind of like exclusive release of my new book. Also, you can pick up Pluto in Love, the recorded talk I did in February. And then Neptune in Love and Uranus in Love, the talks I'm doing in March and April, are available on the shop page. You can register for them. You could also go up to the events tab, click on live talks, and find that you can register for the events there as well. So the next talk is coming up on March 14th. I'm doing a talk on Neptune and its significations in love and relationships, either in your natal chart or by transit. And then in April, we'll be doing one on Uranus. So check those things out. I'm also really excited to be promoting Ashley's herbal apprenticeship program. You guys know Ashley's my wife. She is a fantastic herbalist. If you go over to her YouTube channel, which is Skyhouse Herbs, you can hear her teach more regularly on a weekly basis about herbs and plant spirit medicine. She has been teaching apprenticeship programs for many, many years now. She took a maternity leave, but is back. If you go over to her website, skyhouseherbs.com, and click on the courses tab, you can learn more about her Herbal Foundations apprenticeship, which begins at the end of April. And she is teaching it again after a 2-year break that she took to focus on being a mom for a little bit before both of our kids were in school. You can learn more about all the modules. And at the end of today's talk, if you're interested in learning more about the Herbal Apprenticeship Program, I recorded an interview with Ashley, and after the content is done today, if you stick around, you can meet Ashley and learn more about that program if it interests you. Okay, well, on that note, let us turn our attention now to Venus's upcoming square with Uranus, which is happening over the weekend. I'm going to put the chart up on the screen so that we can see it, as always. Let's point out that Venus is at 19 degrees of Aquarius and squaring Uranus at 19 degrees of Taurus. So that square comes through Sunday morning, Saturday night into Sunday morning. So March 2nd to the 3rd. But you will be feeling that if we back this up a little bit, you will be feeling that square as early as today. Thursday, February 29th, Venus is within a 3-degree range of Uranus, which is the engagement range that you guys know I like to pay attention to. That's the 3 degrees that ancient astrologers like to pay attention to. And so within that range, you typically start to see the manifestations of the symbolism. And if we take that forward just a little bit, you will notice that it intensifies. Venus gets to within 2 degrees by Friday, March 1st, 1 degree on Saturday, March 2nd, and then between Saturday and Sunday crosses through. And then we give it maybe 3 degrees of separation by Tuesday, March 5th. It's fading. And then what do you know? Mars will be starting to engage with Uranus, which we will be talking about as well in another episode. So we have this interesting square, and I want to start by pointing out 5 features about this square that will help us understand this square a little bit more uniquely. Remember that there are always a series of themes that are quite consistent between planets, no matter what aspect they're involved in, no matter what their dignities are. We're going to look at those in a minute. But the unique situation and signs that the planets find themselves in will color and make the transit something very specific. So 5 key features about this particular Venus-Uranus square. Number 1, it's interesting that Venus and Jupiter have some reception. Now, you might be asking, why am I paying attention to Jupiter? The reason that I'm paying attention to Jupiter is because Jupiter and Uranus are heading by late April into a conjunction in Venus's home sign. So it is important to note that as Venus is squaring Uranus, Venus will be doing so in the bound of Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the domicile of Venus. So there is a sense in which Venus is bringing Jupiter and Uranus together. It's almost like this aspect between Venus and Jupiter is playing into the very soon coming conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. That's really important to note because it means that this square is sort of like a sneak preview. So when there's reception, major reception between Venus and Jupiter, kind of mutual reception by sign and bound, then we also see Venus getting into a square with Uranus, and Uranus is in the bound of Jupiter, right? So that's why I'm saying that there's a kind of, that this square between Venus and Uranus is helping us see where things are going with the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, arguably the biggest transit of 2024. So number 2 is that Jupiter and Uranus are coming together, and Venus and Jupiter's reception, along with Uranus being in the bound of Jupiter, sort of point to this as a preview of that upcoming conjunction. Another thing that's really interesting, if we take this forward just a little bit into April, when the 2 planets come together around the 20th, just days later, by the 28th, I believe it is, or yeah, it's about 28th, 29th of April, so like 7-8 days after the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, so just as it's fading within 1 degree, Venus will enter her home sign of Taurus. So Venus is actually coming to join those planets in the same home sign through co-presence just days after the conjunction. That is an important detail because, again, it suggests that behind Jupiter and Uranus, which have their own significations, is a whole lot of Venus. And this is something we've been saying really since the beginning of the year, considering how prominent Venus has been in the dignity scheme. So again, all of this is just sort of building the case that this Venus-Uranus dynamic that we have this weekend is a preview of where Jupiter and Uranus want to go on behalf of Venus in April. Number 4 is that Venus rules the March 25th eclipse. And when the eclipse comes through, Venus will be exalted and just separating from Saturn. So if we go forward to the March 25th eclipse, here's what I want you to notice. The eclipse is in Libra, which is the sign of Venus. So our first eclipse, second eclipse is going to be in Aries in April. Let's just focus on this one for now. The ruler of the eclipse is exalted Venus, who's just separating from a conjunction with Saturn, who also happens to be the exaltation ruler of the eclipse in Libra. That's interesting because look at what is happening at the exact time of the eclipse. Venus is separating from Saturn and configuring itself by sextile, harmonious aspect, to Jupiter. Now, this is fascinating because if you look, Venus will be in mutual reception with Jupiter. Venus is in Jupiter's sign while exalted in her own sign, and Jupiter is in Venus's sign. So we have mutual reception. So in other words, the eclipse is ruled by Venus, who will be, again, harmonizing with Jupiter, who is now just about to conjoin Uranus. this is important because essentially, again, what I'm trying to show everybody through these little nuances is that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction has everything to do with Venus, and everything around the beginning of the year moving forward has been building something in the name of Venus. Now there's a lot of possibilities there. So let's start looking at the archetypal themes. Now these themes, excuse me, are Venus-Uranus themes in general. But these should start to give us clues as to what kinds of values and visions the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's coming in April is trying to create on behalf of Venus. Number one would be progressive, innovative, and original Venus. What I mean by that is that you have the Uranian themes of progress, innovation, breakthroughs, breaking the mold, doing something different, breaking established habits or traditions, thinking outside of the box, being innovative or original, but in the name of Venus. Love, sex, beauty, relationships, art. Those are the kinds of things that we would expect to be important for the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus in April. And right now, we have those exact same themes mirrored in the sky. We have the desire of Venus in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus to imagine a higher form of beauty, a higher form in relationships, a more beautiful product if you're in business, or a more appealing or aesthetically desirable state of affairs in your life. Venus in Aquarius, again, is sort of like up on Olympus. There's a planning room, and on the planning room, you have a team of the most divine interior designers, and they are building a beautiful idea. Exists on the archetypal level like a triangle does. And they're trying to bring that idea into the physical world. And in that physical manifestation of this divine ideal that is Venusian in nature will be a kind of breakthrough and will serve to establish something new in the world that is more enjoyable, more luxurious, more fertile, more comfortable, more secure, more peaceful, more sensually satisfying. Okay, so Venus in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus is looking at that kind of Venusian ideal right now, and looking at what needs to change in order for that Venusian vision of progress to be substantiated in the material world. And everything about the dignities that we just explored suggests that these exact same themes are mirrored when Jupiter meets Uranus in April. So right now, there's an intimate connection between the Venus-Uranus dynamic and this progressive, innovative, original Venusian blueprint and the upcoming conjunction that will actually create that kind of breakthrough or possibility in April. So I hope this is easy enough to track. Number two, you have the idea of freedom and liberation for Venus. Hold on just a second. Sorry, I had to cough. You have freedom and liberation for Venus. So where Venus feels stuck, like let's say you're an artist and you feel uninspired, Venus-Uranus is the breakthrough that creates inspiration and flow from your mind onto the paper. If you're someone who draws, or into your instrument, if you're someone who plays an instrument, you see the freeing up of energy relative to Venus. If you feel stuck or trapped in a relationship dynamic, this is the energy that frees it up and liberates it and starts informing the relationship with a new picture or ideal of what is possible and desirable. And so this is a little microcosm of the deeper changes that are going to continue to be created in Venus's name now through the end of April when Jupiter and Uranus come together. Number three is breakthroughs in relationships. So there could be themes of freedom and liberation for Venus in general, but also where there's been stuckness or stagnation or a rut that you've been in any kind of relationship or any kind of Venusian endeavor, you will find that suddenly the energy is there to break up the stagnation and liberate. Sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I got a cough. Okay. I feel better this week, by the way. Like I am light years better than where I was the past 2 weeks, but it's still like, okay, there's still stuff just clearing out. I swear to God, this winter has been, especially all around Minnesota, it's just been the colds that never end. They're just like ongoing. I think personally it's connected to the fact that we have not really had a winter in Minnesota. I don't know how, but anyway. Okay, so aside from that, breakthroughs in relationships. If you have, um, if you have a pattern and you think, I don't know if this is ever going to change. There's nothing better in a sense for shaking things up and creating change in a relationship than a Venus Uranus dynamic. Venus Uranus coming together right now can serve to um, get things moving where there's been stuckness or stagnation, really in any Venusian activity or endeavor, but especially in relationships. Now, the key thing to remember is that this is a little microcosm of a much bigger breakthrough, a much bigger, expansive moment of opportunity and emancipation and originality that is coming in the end of April, that is also happening in the name of Venus. So you also have number 4, eccentric and expressive Venus. This would be, something, a new clothing style. It's like you're being edgier, you're taking risks, you're getting a weird tattoo. Maybe you're getting some kind of you're going to a med spa and getting some Botox. Whatever you're doing, the point is that you're pushing the boundaries with Venus. You're trying things that are different and maybe a little eccentric or original and daring. This is a Venus that likes to fly in the face of what, conservative standards, right? So whatever it's like, well, this is what you ought to do, Venus. Venus will be like, I don't think so, I'm going to do what I want. So eccentric and expressive Venus. Now, this little moment would also be a microcosm or a preview of a much bigger and more radical risk or kind of daring moment of breakthrough that is coming in late April for Venus again. So, and then number 5, new Venusian ideas, ideals, designs, or plans. This is very similar to what we started off with, talking about progressive or innovative or original Venus, but this is about a new standard. There's a new standard that is being set right now by this Venus-Uranus dynamic, and then the implementation of which and the actual kind of earthy embodiment of which will come most likely in April. So it is a great moment to get clear about what the plan is. And the plan at this point, you've heard me use this example like a ton of times since the start of the year. It's like laying out the blueprints of a garden you want to build. First, they exist on paper. First, they exist in the ideal realm, the architectural or the interior design world of Venus. And then eventually they'll be carried out, and you'll see that the plans start to be carried forward and actually made into something closer to the time of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in April. So remember today these 5 key features that right now, as Venus squares Uranus, Venus and Jupiter have reception. So Jupiter, it's connecting with Uranus, but it's also very vividly connected with Jupiter, which means that it's serving in the process of the 2 planets getting together. So we know that this is a microcosm. Venus enters Taurus just days after Jupiter and Uranus conjoin in late April. Venus rules the March 25th eclipse in Libra and will be just separating from Saturn. The only other thing I could say about just separating from Saturn, because I kind of glossed over that, is just that there's a way in which when any planet crosses through a conjunction with Saturn, it can suggest a moment of maturation, a moment of serious distillation or crystallization. So Venus is going from an ideal space, in other words, gradually through a process of coming into form. And there might be some maturation, hardships, or stresses that come with that between now and the end of April. But you can see that when Venus rules the eclipse in March and is just coming off from Saturn and is then configuring to Jupiter and Uranus, we have this process of Venus going from the ideal into the real. That's what the point of that was. And then number 5, Venus moving into mutual reception with Jupiter as soon as it enters Pisces, shortly after this Venus Uranus square, all of which again are ways of saying that we have a very strong, it's like Venus is pounding on her fist on the table. She's jumping up on the table being like, this is what I want. This is where we're going. This is the breakthrough I want to see. This is the newness that I'd like to see made manifest. And right now, it's in a kind of ideal planning stage. Excuse me. But it will be seeking that physical form of manifestation, and it will get there very soon. So enjoy the ride. All right, that's it for today. I hope that this was useful and easy enough to follow. Something I've been trying to do this year, and it's new, so it's like figuring itself out, is to present more advanced dignities for people who are a little bit more advanced to follow, try to synthesize it in a way that ends up being uh, easy enough for people who may not know a lot about dignities. So hopefully we're hitting the mark there, but it's a work in progress. We'll keep refining this approach as the year goes on. Anyway, don't forget today, if you want to stick around after I sign off, I am interviewing my wife, Ashley, about her upcoming herbal apprenticeship program. It is a fantastic program, and I recommend, if you haven't listened to it yet this week, we've aired it a couple of times, that you stick around and check it out. You may really enjoy studying plant spirit medicine with her in the upcoming program. All right, that's it for today. Take it easy, everyone. Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around. I'm really happy to be joined by my wife, Ashley, who is an herbalist. Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
And yeah, I'm really excited to be helping Ashley promote her upcoming program, which is something that you actually began teaching many years ago, this herbal apprenticeship program. I think it was 2011 or 12 that it got started, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been over 10 years I've been offering this course. And yeah, it's my favorite thing to teach.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because some people on my channel, most people know you because you pop on here or there. We talk about herbs and astrology. There's an attraction in our marriage and an attraction in the subject matter that is old. Like we've been together for 14 years in our relationship going on, and we've always had a fascination with each other's areas of expertise, and we've done lots of things to marry them together over the years, in addition to literally getting married. And and actually, herbalists and astrologers have married the subjects of herbs and planets together for thousands of years as well. Now, your program is focused on, you know, uh, herbalism. It's not an astrology course, but there is certainly a lot of overlap in terms of the energetics and the spiritual approach to herbalism that you take. And so I was hoping that we could start off just by telling people a little bit about the program. You're coming to this after taking a little bit of time on maternity leave. Our kids were not yet in school. Now they are. You're coming back to work. This is really exciting. The new program launches at the end of April. I'm going to put it up on the screen so people can see it. You can find it at skyhouseherbs.com. Enrollment is open now. The course begins. You go under Courses, Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship at the end of April. Tell us about it.
Well, this course, I guess my goal in redesigning the apprenticeship course that I've been teaching for 10 years is to make it even more personal and to allow people to study the material, digest it at their own pace. So what it's going to be is a combination of kind of three main parts. The first one is the recorded material. So there's going to be modules that will be released and people can listen to them as they have time. The second part are live classes where we will meet live on Zoom and talk about the module, I'll answer questions, I'll give even more information about it. And then the third part is the sacred plant pairings. And so I've always taught the herbal portion, like the plant diets, one at a time, but this year I'm going to do it in pairs because I think you can learn a lot by comparing and contrasting herbs. So for every module, you'll have 2 herbs to study and you'll get a little cheat sheet about them before you start the module. And then you'll have an opportunity to work with those 2 plants and blend them and keep them separate and just really work with them closely. Because my goal is that I want people to be able to find information that they can really use in their own lives, maybe with clients, whether they have a professional herbal practice or maybe they're a therapist in a different field, that they'll know these plants so that they can work with them really comfortably.
I love the different modules that you have just so we can preview them for people. Module 1 is Vitalism and the Heart of Herbalism. Module 2, Building Your Home Apothecary. They're so diverse. I love Module 3 is my favorite, Plant Spirit Medicine. Energetics and chemistry. You have such a holistic approach. It's what I've always loved about your teaching. You'll teach about the doctrine of signatures. You'll talk to people about how to communicate with plants, how to think of them as teachers that are living beings that have personalities that aren't just phytochemistry or whatever, but you will also teach phytochemistry. And I think that you have this really well-rounded way of helping people be intelligent about the plants, about the body, about the systems of the body, but also not afraid to use energetic systems, not afraid to take something from the kinds of energetics that ancient mystics were working with, whether that's the elements or whether that's, some of the overlay with things like Ayurveda,
Yeah.
Chinese medicine. You take what's useful on a symbolic and energetic plane and on a personal connection level with the plants, and you marry it to really smart scientific research. I think that's rare. You don't see that a lot.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, to me, it's all language. They're just different languages that we talk about the same thing. And I think the more diverse our languages as herbalists, the more we can reach more people. And that's kind of my goal. Like, I want everyone to be able to identify plants, use plants. So we need to diversify the languages we speak so we can talk with our physicians, so we can talk with a therapist, we can talk with a mystic, right? We can talk with children, and we have a language that everyone can use.
You talk in the program, in your modules, you have stuff on digestive and gut health, you have stuff on detoxification, colds and flus, and dealing with virus seasons. You talk about tissue states, and you're talking about how to give things to your kids for helping them maybe at times even relax before bed at night. We use a lot of different things with our kids. I love this, that you have called this a I'm going to find the phrase where you use, and I'm going to mess it up. A community herbalist. What is a community herbalist, so that people can understand that definition? Because sometimes people might look at a course like this and think, gosh, unless I go to an accredited university for 8 years and learn all about chemistry, I have no right or business suggesting herbs to people or using herbs. That's just not true. And that's not the history of how folk herbal medicine has been used or taught. So what do you mean when you say community herbalist?
I think you said it perfectly. This is the people's medicine, and our grandmothers and great grandparents used plants as medicine. There's nothing actually that hard about the practice of herbal medicine. It's just getting to know the plants and getting to know the times when they're most useful. I really envision that this course, people can take it and, yes, use it for themselves, number one, because I think a lot changes when we have the personal experience, and then using it in your family, whether that's just, maybe making a tea for your dog, or, if you have kids, or maybe you just have a partner, maybe you have plants you can use, and we'll talk about taking care of a garden, but using it for yourself, for whoever's immediately around you, and then taking it beyond that, because it's likely that at some point you're going to be talking with someone, they're going to say, oh, I've got this digestion thing, and I've tried this and this. And they might say, hey, you're studying herbs. Is there anything that you would recommend? And you know what? You'll probably have a few ideas. And that, you never know how one way that you help someone out there in the world might trickle and then help others and more people. So I think through the self-knowledge and studying this knowledge in your own body, it'll naturally, it's like, impossible for it not to spread out and start to affect the broader community.
Yeah, I think that's really important. This is also for that reason, because we have a vision. I mean, you guys know through my Kickstarter, you guys helped us build a community herbal medicine garden that Ashley's been hosting free and donation-based events out of, that the donations go right back into the garden and just growing the medicine that we then find ways of harvesting and giving to other people, or letting other people come and harvest. We have a vision. We always have, back to the days when we had our yoga studio in Maryland. We have always had a vision of making this sacred knowledge accessible to people. And that is both there in this program in terms of the way you're framing what it means to be an herbalist. It might mean that you're a professional and you see clients, and you could continue beyond this program developing the skills to do that. This would certainly set you up for success. You could also go forward and be someone who uses what you know with friends and family and yourself. And that's an incredible set of tools to have. The program's also very accessible from both a programming standpoint and a price standpoint. I'm going to take you back over and show everybody the programs. The modules are pre-recorded, but then you meet outside of the modules for discussion, community, Q&A, and sort of development and integration. So people can attend those live. If they miss those integration sessions, they can also watch the replays of those. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
anyone could take this at their own rate, as slowly or as quickly as you wanted to, really soak it in. or blaze through it. And, and then we can certainly, beyond this program, as Ashley perhaps makes more advanced programs available as she's easing back in out of maternity leave, can help you with further development or recommend you to many other wonderful programs where you could continue your studies. We want this to be accessible. We want community herbalism to be, as simple as being able to show a friend a couple of yoga stretches. We should be able to show each other herbs, and just, hey, this is a helpful herb to use. Also, accessibility price-wise, we have an early bird enrollment, and we have standard enrollment. And then we have tuition level 1 assistance and tuition assistance level 2, which break out the affordable tuition into different levels of affordability. And you can kind of identify where you're at if you're someone who wants to take this program, but needs to work within your means and not hurt yourself doing it. And then for those who can pay, we ask that you use standard or early bird enrollment. And that's the same thing I do for all my astrology programs. So we try to keep it super, super accessible. The Herbal Apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I know Ashley's super excited to be getting back into teaching too. I also would like to offer Ashley just a chance to tell everyone a little bit about, before we end here this interview, tell everyone maybe a little bit about your own background, who you studied with, what your influences are, and just anything else you want to say before we cap it off.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think, I started off as a kid playing in the woods, mixing perfumes and potions. And then I went on to study environmental science, where I studied organic chemistry and restoring native wetlands. And really from an environmental perspective, that's how I got into herbalism. And then after, I realized after working on the restoration piece and joining a lot of earth advocacy groups, that the problem's not with the earth, but with the people not understanding the value of the earth. So then I started going into holistic medicine. I graduated from the University of North Carolina, Asheville, with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. And I went on to get my that was my undergrad. And then I got my master's from the Maryland University of Integrative Health. It was then called Tai Sophia. But my teachers there, I had such a great blend of teachers, really scientific minds, like Simon Mills from the UK and Kevin Spellman, who is like a chemistry genius. He's also an Ayurvedic practitioner who studied with Dr. Vasant Lad. Matthew Prisco, medicine maker from Galen's Way out in California. So I had a really wonderful, diverse variety of teachers in that 3-year full-time master's level program. And then after that, I went on to study with Matthew Wood pretty intensively because I liked his energetics. I liked the way he spoke about the plants and his personal experience working with low dose, drop dose medicine. And he has had amazing he's done such amazing work herbally with just using that method. And gosh, I've got a lot of herbalists in my
David
basket.
Duke comes to mind. And,
Jim Duke.
Or Jim Duke, sorry.
Jim Duke, Margie Flint, Rosemary Gladstar is like, I've only done one herb walk with her, but it was amazing. So, I have shelves of herbal books and people who I just adore. Yeah. And yeah, I just feel really grateful that I've had that blend of the science and the energetic herbalism and the traditional herbalist perspective as well. And I try my best to blend them together and to give everyone a really diverse yet integrated herbal studying experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that. That is exactly what you'll get if you sign up for Ashley's program, which I encourage you to do. If this is the kind of thing that interests you, you won't regret it. It's a fantastic course with someone I absolutely love, obviously, but also like a really, truly fantastic human being and teacher of plant medicine. And if you want to learn more about her, see her work, get to know her a little bit, check out her YouTube channel, Skyhouse Herbs, where she publishes weekly on plant medicine, plant energetics, and also on Instagram, which is Skyhouse Herbs. So the apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I wanted to get Ashley on, brag about her program, turn you guys on to it. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure that we're going to see some people from the Nightlight astrology world getting introduced to you and all of your magic.
I would love that. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.